Okay, so basic photography. In this lecture, we're just going to look at some very simple things like how the camera works and how to set it up ready to start taking photos. Now you've basically got three different types of cameras really. You've got compact cameras like these ones, and the beauty of them is obviously just that they're so compact. You can take them with you wherever you go and you can always get some kind of photo. Sure, it might not be quite as high quality or have quite the same amount of creative control as a big DSLR camera or something, but at least you can get a picture. And obviously the best camera is the one you have with you at the time. Sometimes when people buy their big DSLR camera, they start to dismiss the compact camera and sort of think, that's only for social photography, or you'd never take a professional photo and sell it from one of these or something. And that's just totally not true. You can take amazing photos with these kind of cameras, especially if they're waterproof, shockproof little jobs like this thing, where you can bring it out in situations where even if you had your big DSLR with you, you're not going to bring it out if it's pouring with rain or if it's really dusty or something. At least these kind of cameras, you can always get a shot. Then you've got DSLR cameras like this one, bristling with all these buttons and dials to bring out that creative control to your fingertips, so you can set up the photo to come out the way you want. You can use interchangeable lenses, and in general you just have a lot more control and you can get much higher quality photos. Then you've got sort of in-between cameras, mirrorless, micro four thirds, bridge cameras. They still have all the same theory, all the same aperture and shutter speed and all that kind of stuff, but they're just often smaller. Sometimes you can change lenses, sometimes you can't. They're just more convenient, more portable, and increasingly they're doing better and better jobs at taking incredibly high quality photos. Okay, so how do these things actually work? Well, just simply, the light comes in through the lens, obviously. That's where you're doing your zooming and your focusing and so on. But importantly, the light has to pass through a variable sized hole in the back of the lens, and that's called your aperture. And you can set that hole to be whatever size you want. You just tell the camera, hey, I want the hole to be this big, I want the hole to be this big. And the size that you set that hole at controls what's called your depth of field in the photo. Now, depth of field is just the amount of stuff that's nice and sharp and in focus in your shot, in front of and behind the point that you focused on. So you can see this is a very small or shallow depth of field. We've focused the camera here, but very quickly the background becomes blurry and anything in the front becomes blurry. Whereas if you used a different sized aperture hole, maybe you'd end up with a big depth of field or a deep depth of field. And you can see here that much closer is still in focus and much further away is still sharp. And you can see the effect that has on your photos. For a photo of a person, obviously the one with the nice soft background looks a whole lot more professional because the model stands out against that soft blurry background, looks more 3D. Whereas on the other photo, where there's a larger depth of field, you kind of lose your subject against the background. It kind of feels very flat and two-dimensional. You can't really see where the hair finishes and the sticks in the background begin. It's all very kind of flat. But that's actually what you'd want, a big depth of field for a landscape photo, if you think about it. Because for a landscape shot, you want your close-up rocks and flowers to be nice and sharp, but also the distant mountains and clouds, and because everything is interesting in a landscape scene. Now, obviously, if you leave your camera in auto mode, your camera has no idea what kind of photo are you trying to take. It'll just pick a value somewhere in the middle and it won't give you a very good job at either situation. So you can see how much creative control you're going to have just by playing with your aperture, and it's really not that difficult at all. When you actually take the photo, the mirror kicks up out of the way. There's still a shutter in the way though. The shutter will then open and close for a very precise amount of time to collect all that light for your image. And then the mirror will fall back down and you'll be able to see through the camera again.